Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 39. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson, and I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. He's not got his glasses on. He's giving me a wee polish.
No. Yeah, gotta look good for the camera. I need to get new glasses, actually. I've noticed my prescription has changed, and also these glasses are like ultra janky.
Janky?
They're just like, they fall off my face all the time. Yeah, they're just like super loose and like, they're like, yeah, I'm never getting plastic frames again because it always happens every single time. They just get super loose and they just fall off my face.
I used to wear glasses when I was quite a lot younger, maybe like pre-teen.
Bully for you.
And I just stopped wearing them. And when I sat my driving test, you have to wear glasses. If you have a prescription for glasses, you have to wear them or whatever. Because I needed them for long distance, but it didn't really help me. Do you know what I mean? Like I would put them on, and just the distraction of having them on was worse than not having them. I don't know. It's weird. I have like almost. Yeah. I'm like almost needing glasses, but I just choose not to. Maybe that's bad. Maybe I should have them.
What is it like a baby prescription? Like
it's so weak. It's basically just glass.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like mine's like bloody like bottle like, and it's awful. It's really bad. Anyway, we're not going to talk about eye health today. We're going to talk about a different kind of health.
Yeah.
Segues, right? So today we're going to talk about mental health. This was Gavin's idea. He had mentioned it. But Gavin, well, I'm trying to think of the fairest way to say this, is that you don't know so much about, more about the sort of environmental kind of like things around it, but in terms of just like other aspects of it, you're not as clued up or experienced.
I have never suffered with mental health problems in my life. I'm quite lucky because from what I hear, everyone seems to have mental health problems nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like we always have done and we never had labels for it in the past.
Yeah. That is one way of like, that's, I think there's definitely some truth to that, in that it's only people just now are becoming more aware. There is also the danger of like, it's going to sound bad, I don't think it is becoming trendy to have mental health problems. I really hope it never becomes trendy, but there can be an aspect to that as well. Some people, like talk about being like really OCD and stuff, and the thing is that they don't have OCD, they're just well organized.
Yeah, like people who say, oh, I can't come into work, I've got the flu. Like if you had the flu, you wouldn't be able to make that call, so just stop it. You've got a mild cold. Let's be real.
You've got a cold, and that's okay. If a cold's floored you, then don't come into work, whatever. Yeah. But it's same kind of thing. You're right. Yeah. So we're going to talk about mental health. I thought it would be good to just define what mental health actually is. So it's to do with your psychological well-being, first of all. And what they mean by that is your mental health affects the way that affects your ability to enjoy life, have fulfilling relationships, be a functioning human being, basically. And
which basically it plays into everything in life, but obviously we're tying this into bands and stuff. So like if you have bad mental health, it could jeopardize like what you do day to day, and of course this affects your band. Because you can get behaviours that can destruct, relationships around about you.
I suppose the best way to think about it, like, it's kind of like your mental health is kind of like your immune system. So the lower your immune system is, the more likely you are to catch diseases and things like that. And the more likely you to get ill. The poorer your mental health is, the more likely that a disorder is going to creep in that you're going to have to deal with. And by that I mean like anxiety disorders, depression, eating disorders, loads of different kinds of things. So how do they come about? And there's a couple of different factors. Some of them you can help, some of them you can't. So genetics, for example, is an example of something that you can't control. They have done studies where they've basically found that people with a family history of a certain type of disorder, such as an anxiety disorder or depression or something, people in that family, like future generations, are likely to also have depression or whatever it may be. So in terms of genetics, although you can't help that, it can be good to be aware of your family history, because that then helps inform how you should go about taking care of your mental health. Because if you know that you're already genetically predisposed to being depressed, then you can go, all right, okay, cool. So that'll change how you maybe deal with that situation. Actually, before we started the episode, should have disclosed we're not doctors. We're not trained medical professionals. I'm speaking from experience, because I have had a lot of mental health issues in the past, and I feel like I have dealt, or I am dealing with them pretty well. So I hope that some of the advice that I impart onto you might help you. It might not work for everybody, but so a lot of this stuff I've gotten from the good old World Wide Web, from the most credible sources I could find. Mental health charities, think tanks, medical journals, websites, whatever. But if you've listened to this podcast and you've thought to yourself, I think I have this or that or the other, then the very first thing you should do is go see a doctor, first of all, if you can, or call somebody. We're gonna, I think we'll put the notes up for this, because I've put some resources, some websites and things like that at the bottom. So some UK resources, and then there's a link with a bunch of international mental health charities. So no matter where you're listening from, you should be able to find a website or a resource that will be able to help you. Anyway, sorry, thought I'd just get that out there first of all. Right, so spoke about genetics. The other thing that has, I think it's like 90%, I would say, or like the majority of like your mental health problems will come from your environment. So that's like things that have happened to you, or things that are happening to you right now. Abuse, neglect, drug abuse or alcohol abuse, financial instability, things like that can have a big impact. And then other things that you can't help: chronic illness, personality traits. We'll mostly be focusing on how you can control your environment. So because that is where most of the problems sort of come from,
right?
So how we can help with your working environment and your work-life balance and things like that. That's what we're mostly focusing on.
That's what we focus on every episode. I would say
that is what we focus on every episode.
That's the whole point, is like trying to manipulate the environment around about you so that you can level up your band. That's basically what that is it's a sort of self-help, taking control and responsibility for your band. And this goes out to your life, your financial security, your relationships, whatever. It's the same principles for leveling up your band as it is for leveling up your life, which goes towards improving your environment, which can improve your mental health. We're a self-help podcast in that sense. Kind of are.
Yeah, but I mean, we are. It's just the way it is, you know. And I feel like self-help can sometimes be a bit of a dirty word. I don't know. Like people
only
always
in Britain.
associate like self-help
only in
with
Britain.
like.
But Americans love self-help books. They've been buying them in their millions for years and years.
That's
They've been
interesting.
taboo in this country, so it's weird. I love self-help books. That's all I read. I just read books and books and books and books and books on different things.
How to improve yourself.
Yeah, because no one else is going to do it for you. That's my argument. So
anyway, something that I noticed for sure is that people in general have noticed, is that musicians are more predisposed to having mental health problems. And actually, when you think about it, if you actually like look through like the history of music since like ever, musicians have always had a bit of a predisposition to just being a bit sad. I'm trying not to make light of this, but it's kind of true, you know. And you always like, it's always like the greatest minds, the greatest musicians that always end up either abusing drugs in some way or ending their life really quickly and things like that. So there is a clear correlation between being a musician and having poor mental health. So there's been a bunch of different studies done. I've gotten most of my info from a study that was done by, I think it's a charity called Musicians Help, and they commissioned the University of Westminster and Music Tank to put this report together. And it's a report of like 2,211 independent musicians. It's just like a little survey kind of a thing where they asked them a bunch of different things. So this was really interesting. 71% of the people that they surveyed, of that 2,000 plus people, believed they had experienced anxiety attacks, and 68% believed they had experienced depression, which is huge.
yeah,
You know, that's a big percentage.
yeah.
And the thing that shocked me was that only a third of those musicians said that they would either be very likely to seek help or that they had already sought help. Only 30%, which is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like there's a bunch of people going, nah, I don't need to, or I think it's a waste of time for me to get help, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it tends to be that the majority of musicians will end up, or artists will end up self-medicating with things like alcohol and drugs or other substances, which is not good. So there was that part of it, and then they looked at the different things that that contributed to the poor mental health. So it kind of sucks, but it's just it's annoying because it comes with the job in some respect, but at the same time it shouldn't. So poor working conditions, I can, thinking back on it, you know, yes, we do sometimes have pretty awful working conditions, antisocial hours. I've played gigs really, really late.
It's funny, it never bothers me because I've seen the alternative. The alternative for me is being a full-time dairy farmer, and I will take any grotty basement gig over that. So I know what it's like to be up to your knees and
I mean,
you know what?
I mean, like for me, poor working conditions isn't. It depends. I'm not too phased now. I'm thinking back. There's probably one gig that I could think of that was pretty crap, and it was because the working conditions were pretty and the hours were incredibly antisocial.
Yeah,
and that was I was playing music in a nightclub from like 12 till 2. That was bad.
Aye.
You know, that was awful.
Yeah.
But since then, you know,
if there's someone there that you hate and is making your life miserable, I would say that counts towards working conditions.
Oh yeah, that definitely can count towards it. But I've been quite lucky in that most of the jobs that I've taken have been, you know, quite nice. I've been fed, I've been dry and warm, and I've not been overly tired. I think
I'm going to say something controversial. I quite like having a few crappy gigs, just rainy low-downs. I like having a little, so just occasional, real horrible, terrible gigs because it makes the good ones even better. I like a little bit of misery in my life. If it was all plain sailing, I would just be mundane and bland. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
That's true.
I'm just a weirdo.
That is true. Yeah. I suppose, like, for some people, some people can just be really unlucky and, like, all they have is just awful. Awful working conditions, you know. Antisocial hours, sometimes that just can't be helped. You know, you just have to sort of work your way around it, you know, treat it like a sort of night shift kind of a thing. Anyway, and the other things that sort of impacted on it, lack of recognition, that's a toughie, because it kind of does suck and I feel it's like even more of an issue now with, like, as much as I like Spotify and streaming services and I use them to listen to music and to learn music, it has created this attitude of music being very disposable, if you know what I mean. It's very much like, and then because of that, musicians are kind of seen in the same way. It's just a very fancy Spotify or whatever. You're not, people don't actually take into consideration like how much time and effort goes into, you know, learning your instrument so you can play, you know, 3 hours of covers in a pub. I suppose maybe back in the day it might have been a little bit different. I don't know, because I wasn't a musician in the 60s or the 70s. So if there's any older listeners, please let us know if anything has changed. But I get that for sure. I suppose it depends. It can depend on the gig, and that I don't know what you can do about that. I suppose redefining what success really looks like can be a way to help, because sometimes people have sort of created this idea around you know, what it actually means to be successful, and they're like, well, for me to be a successful musician, it means that I need to be signed and this and that and whatever, and we've spoken about this before, and it's not necessarily the case. I would consider myself, I think I'm doing quite well. I'm not earning millions. I'm earning enough to, you know, I'm living in my own place. I can, you know, I get to earn money doing something that I like. I get to play music with people that I like, or I was playing music with people that I liked up until...
Yeah, well, I was about to say the big elephant in the room is COVID. Is a massive environmental thing that has
that's
disproportionately affected musicians. So the idea of success, even if you have the sort of lowest bar of what your idea of success is, that has been so difficult to try and meet during this time, because for musicians, like for me, the idea of success is I want to play and make, i.e. record music, and earn enough to make a living. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my idea of success. And I haven't been able to do that this year, since March.
Yeah.
I have not made like a 10th, a 15th of what I usually earn over this COVID time. And there's nothing I can do about it. Other than completely change my business model. But then again, it's the whole, I've spent 10 years getting to this point, and it's taken 10 years to get this proficient at what I do. I can't retrain or remodel a business to give the same output in like less than 6 months. I can't do that. It's taken me 10 years to get this model to work for me. A lot of people are in this boat, like, the old model is not working. Can I change to a new model? Well, yeah, but it would take so long. By the time I get round to doing it, I'm starving. I've got no money, which is why people are getting jobs, which is awful. Because I left, I used to work part-time here. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I worked part-time doing that and doing studio, because I couldn't make ends meet. I couldn't pay the bills on just purely doing music. And about 2 years ago, I left and became full-time musician, recording engineer. And it's been fine. But because of COVID, this is the environmental thing. There's some things you can't overcome, not right away. You've got to try and adapt and figure out and weigh up the options. But yeah, that was just the elephant in the room I wanted to, because this is kind of why we're talking about this,
It's kind of, because it has, like, I totally get what you mean. I had to, I suppose for me it's been a little bit different, because I was already, aside from gigging, I was doing a little bit of teaching, so I basically just spent time building up that other thing that I was doing part-time, basically.
Yeah, it was probably much easier for you to shift, because you had already been doing it.
It was a little bit easier, but it was still like there was a lot of things that I needed to, a lot of hurdles that I needed to overcome, like technological things. So I had to buy a bunch of different things and whatever just to make it work a little bit better. Yeah. But the last thing that was musicians are affected by, and this is something that you can work on. Physical impact of work. I suppose different musicians will encounter different, muscular or like
vocal,
skeletal impacts of playing their instruments. So it's very important to look after yourself and make sure you're, playing your instrument in the most efficient way possible, and you're not doing things to
permanent damage
to look cool, i.e. playing your toms up
exactly
here, as an example, or I would even go as far as playing your bass like right up to your chin, because that'll hurt your little wristies, especially your right hand here. Anyway, so couple of things that we can do and change to better our mental health. The most the most efficient, like the very first thing you should do first, if you can, is seek some kind of help through either a charity, a mental health service, a medical professional, whatever gets back to you first. They'll there's a lot of different resources and things like that for musicians or just people in general, so that you can access, and they will be able to help you. So that's the first thing you should always do, like without question. Get in touch with somebody who knows what they're talking about. Don't get in touch with me. Don't get in touch with Gavin. Get in touch with a professional.
I'm a dum-dum when it comes to this.
I'm a dum-dum. Like, really. I'm basically just saying things that other people have said. This is none of my work. This is just research and things that I've I might have some personal experience to impart here, but seek the help of a professional first and foremost. That's the first thing. I wrote these in a kind of an order, but not really. So I might go a little bit off the beaten path. The very first thing that I wrote was record your work-life balance. So what I mean by that is assess how much time you're spending on work and how much time you're spending on other things. Now, obviously, there's two ways to. So you kind of want a nice, even balance between the two, because you don't want to be working so much that you have no time to do anything that you like, or have time to spend with people, or anything like that. We're social creatures, and we need to have that time to spend with family or friends or whoever, right? So that's one sort of extreme. And the other extreme that can happen is that you're not getting enough work and you feel like crap because you're not getting enough work, and you have all this free time and you feel like you're just wasting time doing nothing, right? So there's a couple of things you can do either way. So if you find that you're working too much, have a look and see what's taking up the majority of your time, and try and see if you can what's the word?
Streamline it.
Yeah, streamline it. Improve it. So it might be that you really stress out about doing, I don't know, Instagram posts or something, because you're doing them let's say you're doing them every day kind of a thing,
Yeah.
And you're stressing about, I need to do this post here and this post here and this post here, right? And you're spending a lot of time doing that. One way that you could streamline it is, I know you can do it on Facebook, I'm not sure about Instagram, but same idea. Rather than posting them on the day that they're going to happen, schedule them ahead of time. So spend a little bit of time one day, schedule them all. This is just an example.
Yeah.
You can schedule them all, and then that's sorted. And then you don't need to think about that for the rest of the week until later on, when you maybe need to schedule another couple more posts. Yeah. Kind of a thing. So that's an example of something that you could do. And then but then what about the other sort of extreme where you find that you've got no work and you got loads of time and you're struggling to fill it? What I did was, this was actually an idea that Rachel gave me, was I basically wrote down 100 ways that I could make money. And they can be as stupid or as legit as possible. Because what happens is that when you're racking your brains to come up with something will pop up, right? So I've actually got the book here. I'll read some of them because they were pretty silly. Right, let's see. So the very first one that I wrote was "Sell my kidney." It could work. I would get money from it, but I don't know how legal that is.
It's not very repeatable.
Beg it. Yeah, it's not very repeatable, exactly. Beg on the street, poop on Twitch live, become a cam girl, do porn, feet pics, deliver pizza.
Oh, there's a legit one.
There's a legit one. Yeah, okay, I could become a pizza delivery driver. They're actually quite high in demand right now because a lot of people are just stuck indoors and are ordering food. Grow weed, sell drugs, lease cats to hunt mice in houses, sell some things, like a lot of them. Yeah. And then I came across like some like actual like legit ones, such as advertise my teaching more.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I should start a new advertising campaign. Maybe I should start advertising on a couple of different websites like Gumtree or something. Make a website. Oh, there's one. Mm-hmm. Can be a little bit expensive, but depending on who you make it with. Yeah, so then you just get little ideas like that, and then other ideas like there was this one here: ghostwriting music, like ghostwriting songs or lyrics. That can, if you're really particularly talented at that, you could put that up as a service for somebody, and somebody might be like, "Yo, can you write me some lyrics for my new diss track or whatever?" And then you can be like, "Yeah, sure, okay," and then there you go, money. Mm-hmm. And it's repeatable, things like that. So that's a good way to try and come up with different ideas or things that you can do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Have you got any?
Well, for me, it was a different situation because I wasn't in a position or willing to change my entire business model after spending 10 years. Getting one that worked, because I know COVID's not going to last forever. I don't want to change my model based on an anomaly. So I was willing to sit tight, and I have been sitting tight. So basically, my main task is to not go mental, just to go crazy, like in the house, just So I did stuff like, it was summertime, so I did gardening, I did maintenance, I've got a studio, house, stuff needing done, stuff I've been putting off because my schedule's been absolutely bonkers for the last 3 years straight, pretty much. So there's like things that I've always been putting off that I've managed to finally get done.
Well, there you go.
Rather than just sitting about all day. Yeah. And a podcast. I've been doing a podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So same thing. I suppose, like, that's the other thing. Make work for yourself. So if you're sitting about, but you've got access to a computer, you got a keyboard, you got some instruments, you got an interface.
Yeah.
Make some demo tracks, make an EP, because you can do that. You can do that. There's a podcast episode where we talked about recording music at home. Yeah. So there you go. There's another option. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Taking time to
education as well. I went in. I went like full into like book reading because I had so much free time. I was just lapping up books on business stuff and self-help, like I was saying, where I wouldn't have necessarily had the time to do that if I was working every day like I was before. So I was taking the time to sort of do that. I've also enrolled in some online courses for like mixing and recording and running a home studio. That's stuff that helps because this, as I said, this is not going to last forever. So basically, I'm setting myself up so that when COVID disappears, I am at the best position I can be for coming back into work again.
Exactly.
It's maintenance.
So, exactly. Other little things that you can do. This is more just to do with like the physical, like taking care of yourself physically. It does affect you mentally as well. So, exercising. So you said you were working in the garden. That's physical work, So like that's one thing you can do. Going for walks. If you enjoy running, I hate running. You can go running instead. Lift weights, do yoga. That something to keep your body active. Because what happens is that when you do exercise, and you exercise over a long period of time, not in a day, but consistently, your brain starts releasing, you release endorphins, and then you have a good time, and then your mood goes up just like that. And then, like you said, take some time for yourself, read books. Depending on what school of meditation you want to go for, you can meditate on absolutely nothing, which is like the sort of like more Zen, like Eastern meditation, or
I prefer that personally.
You can, or you can or you can meditate on a particular thing, a subject, a theme, something that has happened in that day, something good, something bad that you could maybe work on next time, whatever it is. Like whatever kind of school of meditation works for you, you can look into that and try it out. I've tried a bit of both. I'm the opposite. I prefer to sit and think about one particular thing, theme, something. It's just I like to think about something. Right. But it depends on who you are and like what works for you. Playing video games, don't take it to an excess, but I definitely think it helps. I've been playing a lot of video games online with buddies and stuff, and it's good fun. It is, like I feel like there's a lot of scaremongering against video games because you hear about all these horrible stories about people being addicted, and it's definitely a thing you should be wary of. But taking a little bit of time to immerse yourself in a video game it's another form of escapism, and it can be good fun. Just be a little bit wary with it. And then, like you were saying as well, I think this just goes back to what you were saying, like take up a hobby, something that's unrelated to your job altogether. Music is one of those weird ones where it's like it's a job, but it's other people's hobbies.
It's a jobby.
And yes, it is a job. Yeah, exactly. So pick something up that you enjoy that is completely unrelated to your job. So for me, that has been video editing. I've been doing a lot of video editing for a YouTube channel that I run with my friend John, where we play video games. So, and I've been enjoying that, and it's a different thing, it just, it's just something different. So a couple of things that you can do there. If you feel like you've done all of that already and none of it's made a difference, then that's when medication can be a bit of a scary word, but medication can be a benefit to you. I can speak from experience. I've taken medication. I found that after a while I didn't need to take it anymore. It's some people it can work like that, you can just wean yourself off it and it's fine. But yeah, for me personally, it was a good fit up until a point. Because for me, so it can affect people differently. For me, it affected me to the point where I became very apathetic. So I didn't care about anything. I was just sort of like, it wasn't like a depressive, like, life is meaningless, everything's pointless. It was just like it was very much a very neutral, grey, like,
Yeah.
and I found I was getting nowhere. So after a while, I was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to maybe start coming off this, But for some people, it might be that they start taking medication and they hit like a really good sort of balance, and that's great and all. So you should, if you feel like that's something that might help you, go speak to a professional first. But yeah. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about drugs. They work for people, but speak to a doctor first.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously at the end of the notes, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we'll put them up because I've put some like resources for different different websites, different charities that you can reach out to and help in the UK. And then there's also a list of international services and charities that you can have a look at as well. I mean, in the UK, if you look up NHS mental health, they have a really good list of resources for people, for just about everybody, including, one specifically aimed at men, as men's health, and then some for some charities that specialize on working with like LGBT plus people as well. So yeah, that's all I kind of have to. I think that kind of just about does it.
Yep.
Do you have anything?
No.
No.
This pretty much covers it, as far as I'm aware. But I think the sort of default thing is, if you can't change your environment, you can change the way you deal with it. I think that's kind of what mental health really is how you deal with your environment.
Yeah.
There can be instances where your environment is absolutely fine and you're still not coping, and then that's when the professional advice stuff comes in. But I mean, if you hate your job, you hate the people around you, everything's going badly, you're not making any money, and you've got bad mental health, chances are it's probably your environment. So you could do your best to try and change that immediate thing around about you and how you deal with it.
Yeah, like the most major thing for me talking about changing environment was when I was doing a postgrad in teaching, and that was the lowest I think I've ever been in my entire life.
Right.
Because I was getting up really early.
Yeah.
Working a lot, not spending a lot of time with people or anybody like that. Basically, like every single thing that I said contributes to bad mental health, I was kind of dealing with. And then I ended up going, you know what? I need to stop. This can't go on, because this is becoming a bit of a problem. So I ended up just, sometimes the best thing you can do, if you can, is just leave that situation as quickly as possible. If you can, if it's at all possible. I was very lucky to be in that situation where I could just get out of there, and then I got some medical help, and then I was on the right path again, and now I feel like I'm in a pretty good place mentally. I think I'm just generally, I've just kind of accepted that I am more predisposed to having a low mood than other people. So just being aware of that can be really helpful, because then that helps you assess your situation and how you're feeling, and then you can go, all right, okay, I am feeling like this because of this, you know. And it helps you to sort of rationalize what's happening and deal with it in an effective way.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, and I think, just to finish it off, first and foremost, seek help. Get some help if you feel like you've listened to this and you're like, I'm suffering with all these things. Very first thing you should do is, if you can, get in touch with somebody, call somebody, a professional, and get some help first, and then go from there.
Sound advice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, is that pretty much everything you wanted to cover?
I think so. If there's something that you feel we didn't touch on, or that you wanted us to go into further detail in, let us know.
Yeah.
For full show.
Because I'm certainly not an expert.
And neither am I. I'm just a boy that has experienced some of those things, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Cool. So we'll wrap it up there, and like you're saying, if you want to send us a wee message if there's any points we missed, or indeed if there's anything you want us to cover just in the podcast in general, any topics you want us to do, give us a shout and we'll answer your emails. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Level Up Your Band, and on the website levelupyourband.com. And as of yesterday of recording this, which is the 27th of October, the music theory, one of the music theory sheets has been uploaded to the website, so you can download, I think, the rhythm theory time signatures was uploaded yesterday. I think you're working on the...
Yeah, it's taken a bit of time because it's a little bit more complicated. Yeah. Just chords and stuff. It's a little bit more abstract. So, but yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there for sure. I'm just trying to make it as simple and as plain to understand as possible.
Yeah.
You know.
So if you're wanting to kind of get to grips with time signatures or chords or keys or any bits and bobs, we'll have individual PDFs that you can just kind of 1 or 2 page long. Some of them, I know my one is, I think it's 2 pages long. So you can kind of, and I've tried to make it as concise as possible. And if there's any issues with it, just let us know. And as always, leave us a wee like and subscribe wherever you're listening, and a review if you can, if the platform allows it. And tell your pals, share it on social media, or I don't know. We never mentioned
whatever
Twitter,
you use,
because we don't actually have Twitter. I've never used Twitter in my life. I don't know anything about it really.
I used it once and I got scared and I was like, never again.
Yeah, I don't fancy it. It's not my jam.
It's a lot of people. It's a lot of angry people shouting into the void.
Yeah, I just don't see the point in that.
That's what
personally.
I feel like.
It seems like a cesspool to me. So that's why I've not bothered with it. It's not. It doesn't really suit my platform. With the podcast, we're kind of. I don't know. Just kind of video based. Instagram seems much more friendly to me. Even Facebook's turned into a little bit of a political cesspool. So, if you want to join our wee podcast members place, you can go onto the website and become a member for free and download all the stuff. And yeah, nobody will shout at you. And if they do, we'll kick them out. So yeah, next week we've got a couple of topics in the back burner that we're just trying to pick from a few. And it'll be a good one, as always, hopefully.
Yeah, please get in touch with topics, because we want to tailor them for you, you know, as much as we can.
Yeah.
You know, and because this podcast isn't for us to talk about. Well, I mean, it's for us to talk about stuff, but it's for us to talk about stuff to help you. You know, so
cool. So we'll wrap up there. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and hope you have a great week. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.